YouTube channel starting up here. 1 minute for it to connect. Okay, so we are now live on the ER9 YouTube channel and recording to Zoom Cloud. And looks like all, just check for board members. I think we have all the board members present. I see Cheryl, Mike, Juliet made it over, Gwen. I do not see Karen. Karen's in the waiting room.
There she is.
Yep. Mary Lee made it over. Yes. Okay. And Maureen. Yes. And Dr. Harrison, Dr. Pan, and Mr. Zachary. Okay. All right. So all board members are here. So I'm going to go ahead.
I don't see Gwen.
Did Gwen? Oh, Gwen did not make it over yet. She was coming in. May not have gotten connected. I saw her in the waiting room. All right, we'll go ahead. We've got quorum, so we'll start. Maybe she was having connectivity issues.
Probably in cyberspace somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully she'll be able to connect again here. All right, so it is 7:43, so I will call the special meeting of the Region 9 Board of Education to order at 7:03 p.m. And a late start due to a committee meeting for half the board that ran over and administrators. So apologies to the public for being late. We did have some other committee meetings happening before this. So with that, and again, for the record, all board members, minus Gwen, who hopefully will be joining, are present, and Dr. Pinn, Dr. Harrison, and Mr. Zachary from the administration, and a few others, and a few members of the public. All right, so we'll move on then to item number 2, which is discussion and possible action. Item 2A, which is the Joe Barlow High School Gymnasium Cafeteria HVAC and Safety Improvement Project vendor evaluation and selection. And I will pass it over to Mr. D'Agostino for the Facilities and Fields Committee Chair.
Okay, thank you, Todd. So the Facilities and Field Committee has been working on this for quite some time, and we just had another lengthy meeting. And a decision was made to recommend that we move forward with this project, as we had mentioned at previous meeting, using the EasyIQC program, which is a state-approved procurement program that both towns have used very successfully in the past. I don't know, Mr. Chairman, did you want me to go through the scope of work? Are there any board members who are interested in seeing a detailed scope of work or anything like that? We have kind of discussed the project and the scope of the project, which I'm happy to go over, but I'm also happy to bring up the detailed scope of work so that members could see all the items that are being addressed, if that is their preference.
I would like to at least see the scope of work for the public and anyone that hasn't seen it for board members. And then,
I think that's fair.
And then if board members do want to see the detail, we can go and look at that. But I think it'd be good just to quickly go through the list of what all the work would be encompassed in the project for the public.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. Okay, is everyone seeing that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is, again, our project, HVAC and Safety Improvement Project. This is a little recap of the EasyIQC program, how it works. Basically, they bid, contractors throughout the state bid on a task catalog, which itemizes all construction tasks. And they are vetted amongst qualified bidders by a group called the Gordian Group, which is a watchdog group that oversees the program for the state. This is the detailed scope of work. The contractor would be Millennium Builders. They're out of Bloomfield, Connecticut. We used Millennium Builders in Reading to do the Reading Elementary School HVAC and to do the John Reed HVAC as well. So I'll just run through the scope of work. There's engineering and design drawings for the project, permit and bonding fees, which will be included in a supplemental purchase order. And then there's removal of the balcony and wood bleachers in the gym. There's dumpsters for disposal of the debris. Removal of the 2 existing chiller units. They're in the mechanical room. They supply the non-gym cafeteria areas with cooling. Parts of the high school that are cooled. The whole high school is not cooled, but the areas that are supplied by these 2 chillers. We have discussed in the past, one is non-functioning, the other one is in disrepair and on the way out. So again, we've talked about replacing both of those with newer train chillers to replace the existing. We're talking about removing the rooftop unit. RTU is rooftop unit, which serves the cafeteria and the servery. The existing rooftop unit, as we've detailed in the past, was heating. It's virtually non-functioning. It does work, but there's no fresh air intake, no tempering of the fresh air intake, and no cooling for fresh air intake when the weather is warmer. So installing a new RTU, which would have heating and cooling and fresh air, important to note, to replace the existing. Required ductwork to connect to the existing ductwork. New electrical feed, because obviously they run on much more electrical power for the cooling. Required roofing. New package unit for the gym that will give fresh air again to the gym, heating and supplemental heating and cooling as well. Spiral ductwork and diffusers to supply the gym. Hot water heating supply, which the units are hot water heat, so they run off the existing hot water loop from the school. New electrical feed from the main switchgear for the rooftop units. There is structural work involved, steel dunnage and support work that needs to be done to support these units. New controls for the units that will connect them into our existing building management system. Test and balancing of the new equipment, which is very important. Rigging of the new equipment into place, getting it on the roof, getting the chillers down into the mechanical room. Replacement of the balcony bleachers, which are the upper bleachers, the wooden bleachers in the gym, which are well beyond their useful life. Modifications to the existing bleachers down below, which will allow for rear access, will give egress for our spectators and for our guests to go up and down and exit off out of the top. Modification to the 4 locations in the railing, which will allow for that egress as well. Replacement of the 2 main court backboard goals and edge pads with new 42-inch high NCAA approved backboard packages. Replacement of the existing wall padding at the 2 ends of the gym. The center pads will have graphics. Painting the interior block walls of the gym. Painting the ceiling and all the duct work that will be in the gym in the ceiling. Refinishing the gym floor and relining the floor prior to finished coats, and moving those existing net penetrations and repair the floor to match as closely as possible. And what that is the court, per Mr. Santangeli and the sports department, the court is going to shift closer to the outside wall. So we're going to move it closer to the outside wall to provide greater clearance of the bleachers because they're very close now. They don't sit anyone in the front rows. So by shifting the court down, we're going to need to move some of those penetrations that are in the floor for the volleyball nets and things like that, which have to be shifted down, and the floor will be patched, and then resanded, refinished, repainted, and relined. So, and then the last note, so all work will take place between June 21st and August 27th. That gives a buffer of a little over a week before school starts. So the work should be complete before students come back to school. And again, there's a note here that they will coordinate the chiller replacement to try to eliminate the downtime for the cooling system in the other areas of the school. There will be some downtime, but hopefully we can minimize that to kind of meet the operational needs of the building and keep the moisture down. So that is the detailed scope. That is the price. So everyone can see the price proposal. Again, I'm not going to share the detailed scope because that is a contract, but I can certainly send it to any and all board members that want to see it, and it can be discussed. It was vetted through by the facilities committee at the meeting prior to this, but
And
again,
Mike, can you also share the permitting and performance
that's the
bonding?
next slide.
Yeah, thank you.
So the way this works is, in addition to that proposal, the town of Reading will charge us building permit fees. I did try to work some magic and got them to lower it a little bit, but we do have to pay some building permit fees. And then there's performance bonding, and that's something that's important that, given the history of some of the projects long before we came into office here, there were some issues with some previous building projects, and performance bond is virtually insurance that, in the unlikely situation where a contractor would not be able to fulfill their contract, you would be covered by that bond, that the district would not be out the money for completing that project. So those two fees add up to $26,629. And again, I put plus or minus. It'll probably be less than that. The standard is 2% of the project plus the building fees, but usually when they buy the bond, it's a little bit less than that. So it's hard to tell what exactly that number will be until they actually buy it. But we will not pay or be obligated to pay until those bonds are pulled, and they won't be pulled until the project is approved by the board, and and a purchase order is issued for the project. So yes, Todd, you look like you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say, so to get discussion going, would you or one of the facilities committee members be able to put a motion on the floor, and then we can have discussion?
I would be happy to do that. I will stop sharing now unless anybody on the board has questions relating to any of the slides or anything that they would like me to explain or review with them. I can only see 5 of you, so I'm going to assume there's none. I'm going to stop sharing.
Maureen had her hand up.
Oh, I am so sorry, Maureen. I couldn't see you. I could only have 5.
That's okay. Can you just explain how this was the contractor that was chosen, why you decided this person was?
Okay, so the Easy IQC program awards contracts to vendors for each region of the state based upon qualifications and the low bidding, having the lowest bid. So there are, I'm not sure how many regions in the state, but there's 4, I guess. Yeah, I was going to say 5, but 4. So we are in the Southwest, and when we did the HVAC projects at the 2 Reading schools in the Southwest, Millennium Builders was the contractor in that region. And in fact, they were highly recommended based upon one of the owners is an HVAC engineer, and we had great success with them to do the 2 HVAC projects in Reading. So when it came time to do this project, when I reached out to the Easy IQC program, Millennium is actually not in our region anymore. They're in the one of the northeastern or northern sections. But we requested that they do our project based upon our past history and the exemplary job that they had done in the past. So that is why that builder is the contractor that will be under consideration for our project. Is that helpful? Okay. So let's see, have I stopped screen sharing yet? Let's see.
Yes, you're no longer screen sharing.
Got something else up here though that I gotta get rid of that. Okay, so given that, I would like to make a motion. I would like to move that the Region 9 Board of Education accept the price proposal from Millennium Construction for the Joel Barlow Gym, Cafeteria, HVAC, and Safety Improvement Project in the amount of $831,089.03 under the guidelines of the state-approved Easy IQC procurement program, and instruct the Director of Finance and Operations to issue a purchase order by April 21st, 2021 to Millennium Builders and forward a copy to the Chairman of the Facilities and Fields Committee.
Second.
Need a second? That was Karen? Thank you. All right, so we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. We'll open it for discussion for board members. Juliet, go ahead.
Can you just make sure you email that to me? Just
Yes, we'll get the motions to you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mike,
Other
how many
questions?
companies were considered for the bidding process?
Through the program, just the one, but it's a specified program that uses the task catalog, and the Watchdog group, which is the Gordian group, as I explained, vets through the pricing. Okay. We also did, Mr. Zachary and Mr. Zudak obtained some pricing from some other contractors and other vendors that we also looked at as well. But the committee recommended moving forward with this builder under the program based upon our success, in the past with them. So that's
Okay.
how we landed there.
Mike, how does this compare to the provision that we had in the capital plan when we last updated it? It's from my recollection, it seems like it's in range of those projects as scoped, but
It's close. However, it's higher in that, if you remember, Walter came to us, when was that? Late last spring or early this fall, and said that the chiller, one of the chillers was possibly failing, and then we found out it actually did fail, and the other one was on its way out. So the scope increased to cover that aspect of the HVAC system. That was not in our normal calculations. We first talked about just upgrading the gym and the cafeteria units. And again, the main goal here is to bring in the fresh air, the outside air, again, to create a healthy educational environment.
But it's close to the capital
It's
item.
absolutely close, yes.
It's a little bit higher because of what Mike was saying, but it's pretty close to the number that was in the
But
capital. plan.
I mean, essentially what I'm trying to get at is the overall, however we stratify all the items in the capital plan, we're covered, right? It's just some puts and takes with respect to the expanded scope. It's not as if there's nothing we have more than enough in the capital plan as allotted.
he
And we don't have to
Yes,
get-
there's enough
You
in
mean in the
capital.
capital reserve? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we don't need to bond and we will not use all the capital reserve.
This will be paid, funded through the capital reserve. This is not going to be bonded.
Right, the bonding fee you were talking about is a performance bond,
Performance
not a
bond.
financial
Yeah,
bond, just for
performance
clarity
bond
again.
is Insurance, really.
All right, any other questions from board members on the motion? All right, seeing none, then we'll call the question. So all in favor, signify by saying aye or raising your hand. I can see everybody. That looks unanimous for all board members. So that motion passes. 8-0 unanimous. All right,
Okay, I'd like to make another motion if I may, Mr. Chairman.
yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I would like to move that the Region 9 Board of Education form a building committee for the Joel Barlow Gym, Cafeteria, HVAC, and Safety Improvement Project to consist of all members of the Facilities and Fields Committee, as well as a member of the public who will represent the school community. And that's in alignment with past practice for projects of this size.
And so there's a motion. I need a second on it.
I'll second. This is Cheryl.
Second, Cheryl. Thank you. All right. Motion's been seconded, so we'll open it for conversation. Questions from the board members? I think just as a clarity point, the member of the public would be appointed by me as the Region 9 Board Chair.
Yes, the chair appoints all committees. So you will be on the hook to put the member of the public on, and vet through all the candidates.
Walter has his hand up, Todd.
Walter,
Can we make recommendations for members of the public? Or is
you can
that,
make recommendations to, you can do it offline to me as the
Okay.
Board Chair, yes.
thank you.
Not all members of the public, sorry, they would just be staff and board members. Thank you. Let me just clarify before my inbox fills up with recommendations of committee members.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, other discussion from board members on the motion for forming the building committee for the project. All right, seeing none, we'll call the question. All in favor? Signify by aye and raising your hand. And it looks like all board members are in favor, so it passes 8-0 unanimously. All right. D'Agostino, any other items
I
of
think that,
discussion or motions?
I've exhausted my motions and my report from the Facilities Committee based on.
Excellent. All right, thank you. Any other questions or any other discussion on it? Or otherwise, we'll move on to the next discussion, possible action item.
No, I was just going to say, Mike, thank you. I'm sure that was a ton of work. And Walter, I'm sure it was a lot.
And Clarence as well. I'll throw that
Oh,
in there.
okay.
Everyone
Yeah.
did a ton of work researching and finding information and presenting over the last couple of months. So
Yeah.
appreciate all that and glad we're able to get this project started. All right, then we will move on to item B, update on the search consultant RFP for the personnel search for the assistant superintendent and head of school. Dr. Harrison, I have this one on the agenda just in case we need, since it's a special meeting, we couldn't add things. So if you have any updates or anything you need from the board at this point after our last session, otherwise we can move on, but I just want to make sure we had something on here so we keep the process moving.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. So just to be brief, Vicky and I are meeting with Chip Dumais, who is the executive director for CES, on Thursday morning to talk about next steps. In the proposed timeline, Chip laid out posting the position for 3 weeks. So it's a pretty aggressive timeline, but in our meeting on Thursday, that'll give us an opportunity to talk about next steps. And I could see if he is available for to come to the board meeting on April 27th, if that's of interest to the board. If not, I could come with any recommendations from our meeting on Thursday.
I would appreciate that as chair if he's available, if he could join us, or if not, as your suggestion, just the timeline of activities so the board knows, and we can start blocking calendars for interviewing dates and things like that.
Okay.
That would be appreciated. Thank you, Mike. I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I think probably best practice is to operate through the personnel search committee, which is the entire board. But I think rather than at board meetings, which again will limit our ability to act and discuss, I think we probably should hold personnel search committees maybe on the same nights as board meetings in advance of the meetings, or at a time when board members can be available. But I don't know that operating under the I mean, we've selected the consultant in public as a board, but I think all the work moving forward should be done by the personnel search committee. That's just a suggestion.
All right, cool. We'll take a look at it if we need to do a personnel search committee prior to the full board meeting or recess out of the full board meeting. We'll look at the schedule and see what we have on the agenda.
Right. Thank you.
We'll take that under advisement. Thank you. All right. Any other board member questions on or comments on that? Okay. All right. Seeing none, then we'll move on to item 3, which I will need a motion. So this is a recess. Item 3 is a recess to executive session to discuss attorney-client privilege communication matter concerning former employee. So I will look for a motion to move us into an executive session, and any members of the public that we need to bring into that session with us. And then we'll talk about logistics for that, because we'll have to go into a separate Zoom breakout and then stop recording. So I'll look for a motion to get this process going.
I'll make the motion if you want.
All right.
So, did you detail?
I did not. So if you can, motion, and then who we would need to bring in.
So I wonder, I'm
attorneys.
going to take a shot at the motion. Council can correct me if it's wrong, but I'm going to move that the Region 9 Board of Education recess into executive session to review confidential attorney-client documents and invite the superintendent and board counsel to attend.
And board counsel being
Board counsel.
Yeah, and Rich Mills counsels, yes, or council members that are present. So Rich Mills and Morgan Rucker, for the record. All right, there's a motion. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Second. All right, I'll have Karen for that. It's the first hand I saw. All right, so just logistically here, I will stop recording in the main room just so we don't have any recording issues in the executive session. So unfortunately, everybody that's watching live on YouTube, if there's anyone in the public doing that, I'm going to stop that as well. I'll stop the cloud recording. I will create a breakout room and invite the board members in, the attorneys and Dr. Harrison into that. We will go into that session. Everybody else, you're welcome to stay in the main Zoom meeting. It will not have the recording going or streaming going in that session either. And then when we finish our business, we will come back into the main session. So, because I think there are a few members of the public I see still on here. So I'm going to go ahead and start the breakout rooms. Just give me a minute here. Everybody assigned. Okay, I think I've got everybody. So you'll get the pop-up notice to go into the breakout room. I'll join you in a minute just to make sure everybody got over.